everybody, and welcome to a shredding wild ride with Steve-O. We've got the ultimate shredder, Dave Mustaine of Megadeth, and he happens to be the very first guest ever in this brand new bitchin' RV that I'm sitting in right now, which I'm able to actually drive myself, unlike the tour bus. And the podcast van that you're all so familiar with lives in Los Angeles. This one lives in Tennessee. So it's the Nashville Delight. Today's episode is hot off the press. And throughout it, more than once, I blurt out some stuff that just makes me think, why did I say that? That's embarrassing. And my face goes beet red with absolute humiliation. And Dave Mustaine is just an unbelievable trooper throughout. To be clear, when he hears something he doesn't like, you can tell. And he's just the coolest dude ever. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you thrash metal royalty, Dave Mustaine.
Wow, thank you. What an intro.
Yeah, man.
Fantastic.
Thrash metal is the correct genre. Is that right?
Well, some people would call it thrash, other people call it speed metal.
Yeah.
I like to just call it Megadeth because it's a little bit of classical, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of punk rock, a lot of heavy metal, a lot of speed metal. And the thrash part, I don't know where anybody tries to differentiate between thrash or speed because it's kind of the same thing. If you go back in the day, now there's a billion different fragments of metal. You've got speed metal, black metal, white metal, death metal, power metal, prog metal,
hair metal,
heavy metal, hair metal. Metal. And, there's so many different types of metal. What do you say? So,
I recently attended your concert in Nashville, and again, thank you so much for the invite. I really, really enjoyed that. You were tremendously generous with your time, both before and after the show. Thank you for that as well.
Sure.
And it was just fascinating. Before the concert, I told you that I'd actually met you in 1987 when you opened up for Dio at Toronto's Maple Leaf Gardens. Mm-hmm. And it was like before the show, maybe in the afternoon, and I showed up early and weaseled my way into the arena and was just wandering around, and I bumped into you in the concessions area. Mm-hmm. And I had my autograph book with me and got your signature, and I tore apart my house today looking for that autograph book. I know I have it, and turns out that it's got to be in Los Angeles still.
Oh.
But I was just dying to show you your autograph from almost 40 years ago. I remember the concert extremely well. It was right when So Far, So Good, So What was coming out. I remember you referencing a song. You said, this song I wrote the day that Cliff Burton died. And if I remember correctly, the song that you were referring to and that you played was In My Darkest Hour. Mm-hmm. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And so you wrote In My Darkest Hour the day that Cliff Burton died?
Probably most of it. I wrote it in one sitting, and I remember getting a phone call from a friend of mine named Metal Maria Ferrero. And she's with Adrenaline PR out of New York. You probably know Metal Maria. And she called me, so it probably was the day after he died, right, or maybe a day or two after, because they didn't call me. I had to hear it from somebody else. So, however long it was from whenever that tragic incident occurred, and when I found out, I think it's probably a couple days. Yeah.
Right, but you found out on the day that you wrote that song.
Yes. Yeah. As soon, let's phrase it accurately. The day I found out, I wrote the song.
Right. Yeah, unbelievably sad. You wrote the song and then found out. Because to listen to the lyrics of the song, it didn't, it seemed inspired by that. Like you wrote the song and found out after.
No.
Oh.
You about In My Darkest Hour?
Yeah.
No, I got a phone call.
Oh, so it was inspired by that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the day that I was told was the day that I wrote the song. The day I found out.
Right. Okay. And then when I was at your show, it was just a couple weeks ago, I think. Notably, you didn't play that song at the show, and I'm wondering if there's a reason for that.
Too many songs to play. Sometimes we play it, sometimes we don't.
Right.
Sometimes we play Wake Up Dead, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we play Wake Up Dead into In My Darkest Hour, sometimes we don't. There's just so many songs, we've got, including all the cover tracks that we've done, we have 205 songs. So
wow.
You try and pick songs out of that big of a repertoire, it's difficult.
Right.
Even if we took one record off each album, even if we took one song off each album, that's 16 albums, and then the B-side album, Hidden Treasures, that's 17 songs. Each song is, say, 4 minutes. That's 68 minutes worth of material only that you'd have to try and cram into a 90-minute set, so...
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed during your show, it seemed after every single song, you left the stage, switched guitars. You came out with a new guitar for every song. Is that right?
Very close. Very close. Every 3 songs we switch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty amazed by the variety of guitars. And another thing with just back to the death of Cliff Burton, I was so rabid of a heavy metal fan. That's why I showed up at the arena early and found you the day of the concert. I religiously made it to the newsstand to buy the new issue of Circus Magazine and Metal Edge magazine. I got all these
Cream.
Yeah.
Hit Parader.
And at the time, in what I think was November of 1986 or something, I'd been in so much trouble with my parents, with school, that they had actually taken away all of my music and my Walkman, my headphones.
You must have gotten in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal.
I wasn't allowed to listen to music. I mean, just like when they would take away my skateboard, I always had backups,
Yeah.
But what was notable was that even though I wasn't allowed to listen to my heavy metal music, my mom knew that I loved it so much that when she saw the death of Cliff Burton in the newspaper, she actually cut out the article and left it on the kitchen, the kitchen counter for me. This is
important to you.
Yeah, something that was important to me, and
that was nice.
It was nice. It was a very nice thing, and then that's how I got the news. And then I went to the newsstand for the next issue of Circus Magazine and Metal Edge, and they were still running, it was. And then the next issue, and then I didn't know that magazines took 3 months.
Yeah.
To come out.
Yeah.
So and just the fact of the media back then, that was the only way to get news.
Yes, it was.
So 3 months behind, I almost felt resentful. I think I did feel resentful, but there's also I lived in Canada at the time. The Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens was where I saw the show, and in Canada they don't have MTV, or they didn't have MTV. They had Much Music. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the Headbangers Ball. They had the Pepsi Power Hour.
Music blues.
And I'm telling this crazy story, and it's, but on the Pepsi Power Hour, I remember there being a thing that said, the VJ guy in charge of the show, he said, "Here we have a request for a Metallica music video," And just to let you know, there are so many requests for metallic music videos. Look at this pile, and there's this huge pile of envelopes on the floor, and they said every single one of those letters is a request for a Metallica music video. But I want you to know that the band's official statement, the official position, is that they'll never make a music video. They don't want to, be commercial or whatever it is. And I thought, oh, okay, that's great. But then Cliff died, and then next thing you know, they got the one music video, and I thought, wait, you said one thing and then you did another, and I was kind of offended by that. Years later, I'm partying with Lars, and I told him, among other things, I told him that when I saw the one music video, I arrived at the conclusion that Cliff was leaving claw marks inside his coffin, trying to get out to strangle him.
Oh.
It's a terrible thing to say, but I had always had a penchant at that time for saying, there's almost like I had Tourette's. Like I went.
Somebody's snoring with the story.
Yeah. Cool story, Steve. Moon Pie sleeping now. Thanks, dude.
In any case, back to now I'm blushing. I'm embarrassed.
Have you guys been approached to do like anything hologram? Like any shows like the Kiss is doing?
Ooh, a hologram version of yourself. That presumably would mean that the behavior could be perfectly controlled, but maybe the real version of you can't control the behavior. Maybe the real version of you has a terrible habit that needs some breaking. And what's the best way to break a bad habit? Ladies and gentlemen, you replace it with a good habit, like fume, which is a very good habit, something that I just enjoy doing. It's a diffusive device that flavors air. It's got all these great flavored cores. My favorite is still crisp mint, even though spearmint is a close second. And with this, you can kick the bad habit that you need to kick. And to do that, you go to tryfume.com and use the promo code STEVO. That gets you a free gift with your purchase of a journey pack. The journey pack being the beginning of the journey to the happier, healthier you without the bad habit. Be the next success story. They've had 300,000 success stories because it works. So, one more time, go to tryfume.com and use the promo code STEVO to get a free gift with your purchase of the journey pack. And get on that journey, man. And let's get back to it.
Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
I'm still alive.
Yeah. Right.
How's your neck? Famously, you're headbanging for decades and decades. You had a neck condition.
I had a bone break in my neck, and I was at the hands of a chiropractor. So they had to fuse my neck together. So my motion and my range of motion has been really messed up. I've got a plate in my neck, and it just really fucked everything up. They said you have two choices. They can go in through the back, or they can go in through the front. And they said that if you go in through the back, it's much more difficult, it's much more difficult to go in through the front. And the healing prognosis was better if you went through the front, though. And I said, well, it's riskier, but it's a better shot at healing. I'm going to go for going through the front. So they had to put this spreader in my neck like what they do in somebody's rib cage when they do open heart surgery, and they pulled all these muscles over here over to this side. This side didn't get stretched very much, but this side got stretched all the way over there, and really hurt my ability to keep my head in where it's supposed to normally be. I have to work really hard to keep it in the normal range of motion and stuff. So PT was hard and it took forever. I still work on it when I do my workout. But yeah, the neck is okay. The only bummer about it is the after effects, because the plate has rested against my vocal box, and it keeps me from hitting certain high notes, and I have to work harder at it. I'm taking vocal strength training once a week to make sure that I can do that. It's hard, but I want to try and be a singer, so I've got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. I didn't notice that you had any trouble.
Thanks.
With
Thank you. Can I get some water?
Yeah, for sure. You want cool? Still or sparkling?
Still's fine.
I can grab that.
Yeah. We've got a water sponsor.
Yeah, I can tell.
It's
Did you say still or sparkling?
Still's fine.
Yeah. Has headbanging changed your approach to it when you're performing with the neck stuff?
In the beginning, it was a big difference for me because, I couldn't move. I remember we were scheduled to play Yankee Stadium with the Big Four concert the day that they found out I needed my neck to be fused together. And so I'm laying on the emergency table, and my manager says, Metallica's manager called you a pussy because you're going to get your neck fused together and you're not going to come out here and play instead.
Wow.
And I thought, man, that's a gutless thing to say. I'm laying here getting ready to have back surgery and you call me a pussy. So I had the doctor stitch me up, inject me full of all kinds of steroids and shit. I went and played the concert, and then I went back and I had the surgery. But it turned out great as far as healing's concerned. The only problem is when you have a vertebra and the motion in between it stops, the motion above it and below it has to do extra work. Uh-huh. So eventually those two vertebrae will also need some kind of special care and attention.
Wow.
I don't plan on headbanging for another 30 years. So I'm already 63, so I figure, if I play another 5, 10 years, 15 years, whatever, then that's a good run.
I love that headbanging is not optional.
You can't. It's a kind of a feeling you just can't help.
Yeah. That's great. And the fact of it, I could imagine like logic dictating that maybe you learn to play without headbanging, but that's not an option.
You can, and I do a lot of times, but it's for me, my foot kind of taps a little bit. If I'm sitting down, it's always tapping. If I'm standing up, sometimes my leg will bounce a little bit, but it doesn't happen all the time. When the show's on and the lights are going and everything and people are cheering and clapping and stuff like that, it's kind of hard not to because you see them and it's kind of this undulating movement that's taking place, and it's very contagious.
For sure. It occurs to me that I'd like to stop being rude and introduce my co-host Scott Randolph.
Hi.
And then over here, Vinny is off camera, and Isaac's off camera too. But these are my boys. These are the crew. When I was at your show in Nashville, you acknowledged. Maybe did you bring them on stage? Two doctors, which you credited with saving your life.
Well, I didn't bring him on stage.
Yeah, you didn't bring him on stage. You acknowledged that they were in the crowd.
He was over on the side of the stage because he was there, and he actually. We were talking about all of the radiology and what happens when somebody's dying from exposure to radiation. I had just seen the movie Chernobyl, and I started writing a little bit of some lyric about it, and then several years went past, and then this television series came on, and I thought, oh, there's that fucking thing again, and so I watched a little bit of it, and then I went back and I looked at it was some schlocky B movie where these college kids went on an extreme adventure down to Chernobyl, right? So that was the song where the guy in the beginning is in love, and his love leaves him like the people left their animals in Chernobyl when it was time to leave. They had to leave, and it wasn't like they sat around and packed shit. They had to go.
Right.
And when I watched the movie, they showed all these dogs that were left there, and I thought, what a terribly inhumane thing for people to do. You know, at some point, you know, a lot of people, their family, the dog becomes family, and in that situation, it just shows that they were nothing more than just a trinket. They just left him behind to die or whatever. And I started writing down the lyric, and then I thought in the middle of the song it'd be neat to kind of get a little bit of information about what the process is of getting sick from radiation. Because at the end of the movie that I watched, the guy's basically melting in front of my eyes. And that doctor, the very same one, had written the lyrics that were part of the end of Dogs of Chernobyl. There's this part where the guy's getting sick and his body's melting from the inside out, and what that's called and how it takes place. And I wouldn't have never known any of those words properly. I'm sure I could have plagiarized somebody, but to work with somebody, just like with Ice when we did Night Stalker, and we had Ice, who is a ranger, and we had this other friend of ours, John Clement, who is a chief in the Army, who helped us write Night Stalker because he's up at the fort. He's one of the 160th up there with all the helicopter guys that go in the dark. So I like to get real legitimate lyric
Right.
information. I don't just like writing stuff out the top of my head.
Yeah. That song and the inspiration from Chernobyl, was that like because you had your own cancer diagnosis? Yeah. When did that come in? I can only imagine how gnarly it is to be diagnosed with cancer, and way less stressful things really, really get me super bent out of shape. Which is why I'm very glad that this episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Because when things get you bent out of shape, when they're super stressful, like it just builds up and it builds up. And the way to take the pressure out of all of that is to talk to somebody about that. And BetterHelp is the way to do that. This is an online service which matches people with therapists, licensed, qualified therapists, and you don't have to go to an office. You do it conveniently online, like anywhere you want and anytime you want. You can just schedule it. You go to betterhelp.com/Stevo, and that gets you 10% off your first month. This is just going to be something that really helps. It helps me. I believe it'll help you, and it's worth a shot. All you got to do is go to betterhelp.com/Stevo. Again, that gets you 10% off your first month, and you can really take the pressure and the stress out of the things that are getting you bent out of shape. I super recommend it. So go to betterhelp.com/Stevo, and let's get back to it.
That was in, I think it was 2019.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
And so you already had the relationship with the doctor for writing the Chernobyl song, and then he was your guy that you went to, and he saved your life.
The album came out in 22.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
Yeah. So I got sick in 2019, I think. I think it was October of 2019.
Okay.
And we'd done all the radiation. It was seriously fierce radiation. I've had, again, we had two different ways to do it. We were going to do it one way that was going to be kind of moderate, and then the other way was a real intense program, and the outcome was going to be better if I'd gone for the more aggressive approach to everything, because it was I think there was 13 doses of chemo and 51 doses of radiation. It was some ungodly number. I can find out and tell you, but I mean, at that point it won't matter. But yeah, we ended up talking a lot, and asked him to help me with that one part, and he did. And he sent back all this stuff that was written out, and he had to have, the guy had to have had some kind of literary skill in college, because it flowed. And he didn't know what the rhythm scheme was. Like if you have a line that ends with dog and then the next one ends with cat, it would end with like an A and end with a B. And then the next line would either be A again, so you would go dog, cat, frog, bat. That would be A, B, A, B, right? Mm-hmm. And he had that same kind of flow. The end of the first sentence would end with a phonetic syllable, and it would... same thing in the next sentence. It would flow, and it wasn't like some generic sophomoric,
right,
real silly kind of nursery rhyme. It was really good. I didn't have to do that much collaborating on that part with him. The first part of the lyric, the story, that was me writing, and then the part at the end where the guy's starting to die. That's basically he and I together, and he was just fabulous. I already talked to him when I saw him next time. I went, my fingers cracking my knuckles, and I said, "All right, man, you ready? We're gonna start recording the next record in a couple of weeks." So he was pretty jazzed about that. Not that I was gonna actually use the same outside writers or anything like that, because I try not to repeat myself.
Right. Wow. It's just crazy to imagine that you get sick and you go to this doctor, under these circumstances, and then you develop a relationship where now you're writing songs for the album together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy.
That's fantastic, and I guess it does make sense that you would, after having that experience, watching a series about Chernobyl would affect you.
Yeah,
more.
Sure did.
More.
But I saw the stuff about Chernobyl many years ago. The first time I saw it was, probably 20 years ago. And then watching the series. The series was when it aired on one of the networks. I can't remember which network it was. It was CBS or NBC or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it in real time, 1986.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, I lived in England at the time, in 1986. So
it's still burning, right?
I think that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
What did it come from? Like what?
It was a nuclear power plant.
It exploded.
Yeah,
it overheated.
Yeah, don't they have the Apple TV Chernobyl that just came out too?
Yeah, it was nuts. The what's the name of the character on the Megadeth albums?
Vic Rattlehead.
Vic, and he's on every single album.
Somewhere.
Yeah, just like Eddie on.
Yeah, well, more like the Playboy Bunny, because there were a couple times when the label had tried to get us to stop putting Vic on our label, and we said no. So we just made him really small.
Nice, nice. You said in the beginning that Megadeth has some classical music influence, and I was uh, I was curious. We tried to look it up, like what your musical training was early in life.
Didn't have any.
Yeah, we found that that you taught yourself how to play guitar with a songbook.
Yeah.
What does that even look like? I mean,
Well, it was like I guess it was probably you know, if you fold it in half, it was probably a 32 or 64 page book, and it was just chords on guitar.
I mean, don't you have to like learn how to read music first? Like, no music lessons to learn how to make sense of what's in the songbook.
Yeah, you do. The hardest part for me was learning how to tune because I didn't have anybody teach me, so I had to figure out what it said. There was no internet back then. It was back in '74, I think, was when I first started playing. And so it was Mel Bay was the name of the guitar book. And it just had normal guitar chords and didn't have any scales, didn't have any runs, nothing like that. And we just went from there, learning how to play chords until when I got a turntable and started putting vinyl down and listening to songs. My sister had started dating some guy, and his little brother played guitar too. And he helped show me a little bit about guitar playing and a little bit of the beginning nuances. I had a cousin named Johnny back then. He had a gold top Les Paul. It was so beautiful, and that was the first guitar I ever did a power chord on was that Gibson gold top Les Paul.
Yeah. I figured it was my guess that you would have had some classical music training, and I kind of like the way that Bruce Dickinson had the opera singer background, and like I see some parallels between Iron Maiden and Megadeth a little bit, like with like you said, the classical music influence, the characters on every album cover. Just like the iconic, level of it, the intelligence of the music, like when you say that you want to really like research what you're writing, I feel like that's something that Maiden has in common there too. With the 13 album, like I think we read that the significance of the number 13 for you, that it had something to do with you teaching yourself how to play guitar at the age of 13. Dude, the number 13 is 1 and 3. If you take the number 3 and plop it on its side, and then take the number 1 and put it above it, looks like a wiener, dude. And, my wiener looks way sweeter when I take a Blue Chew tablet. Why? Because we're talking about the same active ingredient as Viagra and Cialis, except Blue Chew only costs a fraction of the price, and it's delicious and chewable. And for you, the listener of the Wild Rat podcast, you can get an entire month's supply completely for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. I mean, if you think that you're going to have a good time when you take a Blue Chew tablet, I think you're right, because I have a great time every time I take a Blue Chew tablet, and I perform at my best, and my lady really digs that. So, one more time, if you want to get an entire month's supply of Blue Chew tablets completely for free, all you pay is $5 for shipping, then you go to bluechew.com and you use the promo code STEVO. One more time, it's bluechew.com, promo code STEVO to get an entire month's supply. All you pay is $5 for shipping. Now let's ride this episode all the way home, baby.
It was a lot to do with 13. I was born on the 13th,
Me too. What month?
September.
Okay, I'm June 13th.
Mm,
So we're exactly 6 months apart.
yeah. June?
Oh, wait, no. This is 6 months apart from March. Sorry, I have two birthdays. One's for sobriety, and it's in March.
Okay,
So,
great.
like, my September is my half sobriety birthday.
Oh, okay. So you drink near beers on those days?
Nah, I don't need to be anywhere near beer.
No, right, okay. No virgin margaritas. Yeah, 13. The last there's 13 steps on my house here. The last house we lived in, my address added up to 13. It's just all kinds of weird stuff. It's everywhere.
Yeah. We read that you said that you had 13 relapses. That was part of it. I don't know. Maybe the internet got that one wrong.
The internet got something wrong? Son of a gun. No, I thought everything was true on the internet.
You know, with one thing that's pretty amazing. There's so many examples of people who have a history of substance abuse who look absolutely phenomenal for their age.
Mm-hmm.
Like one could argue that there's a preservative effect to a lot of these substances.
For some people, didn't work for Willie Nelson very well. But I mean, Willie's in his 90s, so.
Right.
I mean, I love the guy. There are some people that I think that look good. Stevie Nicks looks great.
Yeah.
But I think she's in her 70s.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that I'm trying to think of an example of someone who
Hi.
Debbie Harry.
What you doing?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're here at your property here. We saw a horse on the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Like what kind of animal? How many different kinds of animals do you have here?
Well, the big one is a Dutch horse. It's called a Friesian because it's from Friesland in Holland. And those horses were used for pulling carts. And those are the horses that the Amish mainly use. They're beautiful. Whenever you see a horse in a show, they show them with long black flowing hair, like if Lady Hawk, the guy Rutger Hauer, was riding a Friesian. And there was a very famous Friesian named Samson, who he lived out in Australia, and he was the most desirable Friesian of all. So his job was just to sit around all day and just do what do you call it? What do they call it? IVF?
In vitro fertilization.
Yes. I was trying to be a little bit more proper there, pal. They do the donations of specimens and the embryos, and they're worth just a fortune. And the thing, I guess, died recently. Look up Samson, see if you can find him.
What makes him so sought after? Is it like the
look at him and you'll see
his height?
Look at him and you'll see.
Yeah, what do they call it, like a 10 hand?
There he is. No, that's not him. He's all black. They're all black.
Moon Pie here certainly has taken a liking to you.
Yeah. Animals like me.
That thing?
No, that's gay. That's not real. That's not real. That's not real. How did you spell Friesian?
I just did Samson horse.
Yeah, how do you spell Friesian? How long the tour you just ended the tour? Nashville was the last stop.
Uh-huh.
Is that it for that tour, or is it just that's it for that leg?
That's it for that record. That campaign started in October of 22, and I think it started a little bit earlier. The record came out September 2nd, 22, and I think we were already playing by then, I'm pretty sure. So, but we started around then,
Yeah.
and we went for 2 years.
So is there like a timetable that you kind of stick with how long you wait before you put out another album?
No, the album before that, Dystopia, we were out for 6 years on it.
Wow.
And Rust in Peace, we had something like that too. We had a long time between Rust in Peace and Countdown to Extinction.
Rest in Peace was your biggest album?
No, Countdown was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Countdown. So now with this tour's over, like, are you just chilling? Is it gonna be you'll wait for like you feel the inspiration to start writing, and
We felt the inspiration to start writing while we were out on the road.
there you go.
And we started doing this exercise because I have a new guitar player with Timu. We were listening to the whole back catalog of everything so that he could see what the chord structures were and any vocal ideas and stuff like that, just to get to know what my songwriting approach is so that he could know how far he could spread his wings with his songwriting stuff and not go, well, this I want to show this to you and for any reason be reluctant because he thinks that, all my songs are, about Satan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one thing that is really interesting to me. The story of the song "The Conjuring,"
Mm-hmm.
and with there was this. I mean, I guess for people who don't know, like you're Christian. But when you wrote The Conjuring, presumably you weren't Christian. And due to the fact of it having content about black magic and hexes and stuff, you never play that anymore as a
The
Christian.
Conjuring?
Yeah.
Yeah, we play it.
All right, but did you rewrite the lyrics to it?
No.
Oh, wow. There was a point when I understood that you wouldn't play it.
Yes.
And
That was because I wasn't sure about what effects the lyrics would have on our young fans, and I didn't want to mislead anybody.
right.
I wanted to make sure if I was singing something and they gave it any kind of importance that I wasn't inadvertently making a decision for them and they were saying something that was going to possibly hurt them in some way or form,
Right. Wow, that's so that you ultimately decided that wasn't a concern.
It is a concern, and the structure of the song did not have in it what I thought was in there. There's nothing misleading in there, and after extensive evaluation with it, a lot of thought, a lot of navel gazing and prayer and stuff, I figured, that's it's okay to do this one now. Anarchy, I don't do that one.
Anarchy in the USA.
Because it says I'm an antichrist, and I'm not an antichrist. So we did that over in it is Donington, over in Download. For people that have been in the business long enough, it used to be called Donington. But anyway, so Nikki Sixx was there, and I just, I looked at him, and for some reason I just felt that I needed to just bury the hatchet with him for something. And I don't know what it was, but just something made me feel like I needed to just make things cool, not that I need his approval or anything like that, and not that he cares about me at all, but I just felt like maybe there was something out there that I did. And I remember that we had a guy in our band that had a shirt with Nicky's face on it with a red line and a circle through it.
Uh-oh.
And so I'm glad that I did make that amends with Nicky, although it wasn't like a ninth step or anything like
Right.
that, because I'm not in the program. But I'd gone up to him and said, "Hey, man, would you be interested in playing Anarchy with us tonight?" So the last time I played it was with Nicky at Download, and it was fun. I don't think anybody expected to see that.
Right.
I certainly wouldn't have expected that. If young Dave would have talked to old Dave, I would have said, "You're out of your fucking tree, Mustaine."
That's a fantastic story.
Yeah.
And I think that, whether in the program or not, there's a lot to be said for cleaning up your own side of the street.
Sure is.
Yeah. The tour that you were just on, quite a hell of a light display.
Oh, thanks.
The whole stage set, the whole production seemed to be reasonably massive.
Thanks.
How many trucks and buses were involved in that?
Let's see. 5 trucks, 3 buses. Not a lot.
Okay.
Not a lot.
For a guy who only needs a microphone, this seems like a lot. But how many employees were involved in the tour?
On my crew, there's 13, and then there's 4 band guys, and then the lights and sound companies provide their own crews, so those aren't my responsibility. But I think the whole tour has around 60 men and women on there. There's about 4 or 5 women, and the rest are men, and about 60 people.
It's amazing. With you said that you don't you rent the bus.
Right.
Have you ever thought about buying a bus?
No.
No.
There's no point. Unless you buy it brand new, and then who's going to want to eat that depreciation? Not me. I would want to buy a used bus, but then who wants to buy a used bus? Most people know what goes on in there. Have a giant condom on wheels.
That's amazing. I know Scott is over here probably dying to ask what you have on your rider.
Wow, I wasn't even going to ask. Thought about it, but I wasn't going to ask. Yeah, back in the heyday or even now, what are some must-haves for every show for you guys?
That's a long answer.
Okay.
That's a really long answer. Must-haves.
Well, I mean, do you have a rider where you demand that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the album sleeve for Maiden's Live After Death. They had stats for the Power Slave World Tour with how many this and that, and it was pretty extensive, pretty impressive.
Yeah. We put stuff like that on the jackets for people to have something to read while they're listening.
Yeah.
So our rider doesn't have any brown M&Ms, if that's what you're talking about. It's pretty straightforward. We don't have any hard liquor on our part of the rider for the band rider. Band rider has a couple bottles of wine. There is beer and liquor for the crew, but that's not our rider. Mm-hmm. We have, one thing is Fruit Loops with marshmallows, because most of the other cereals that are out on the road are, they'll go get stuff from a health food store because the other guys are all vegan and stuff like that. And they'll come in with possum puffs. It's like, fucking possum puffs, man. I don't want no fucking possum puffs. So that's it's important to have the
Fruit Loops with marshmallows is the gold
yeah,
standard.
Yeah. Back in the 80s, it would have been Fruit Loops with mushrooms. Seems to be quite a new thing here with the young people doing what are they calling it? Microdosing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chocolates.
We've got our main editor is a fan of the microdosing.
Yeah.
That's
That's what you and I call shrooming, right?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it's
They don't eat enough to like trip. They just feel good. Go to the gym.
yeah.
Eat,
It sounds to me like the dreaded underdose.
Yeah, like, hey, man. Hey,
Yeah.
hey. Come here.
Could I have some more, please?
Come here.
That was I heard somebody say that, like, you ever worry about overdosing? No, my only concern was the underdose.
Yeah. Do you remember Jimmy Bain?
I don't.
Okay, never mind. You should, because he was the bass player on the Dio tour you went to go see.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah, that I should.
Mm-hmm.
And God, man, with Ronnie James Dio, what a wonderful person he was.
Yeah, he was a great guy.
Just fantastic, man.
Yep.
I was very upset with Jack Black's song about Dio.
What is it?
There's a song that on a Tenacious D album. It says, Dio, you're too old to rock. No more rocking for you. And it was like a comedy, like it's sort of having a laugh. And, Dio, gotta go. Like, and I just felt very offended that this seemed, I mean, it's in tongue-in-cheek and for sure comedy, but don't disparage my Ronnie James Dio.
And there's some guy that are, they're untouchable.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't. And to be fair, it was many years before his passing, so he was very much alive, and
Yeah.
for all I know, he got a kick out of it. And
Well, Jack is a comedian, and comedians, that's what they do. They try and get a rise out of people.
yeah, it's hard to be mad at Jack Black, but
Yeah.
yeah. What do you have a fitness sort of health regimen? I mean, to hear you say that you're eating Fruit Loops with marshmallows, it feels counterintuitive. Do you have an exercise regimen to burn all those calories?
Yeah, I'm that close to my black belt in jiu-jitsu.
That's right.
It's
Purple at the moment.
No, brown. It'll be my fourth black belt. So I've been training since I was 12, and my regiment is whatever the fuck I want.
I love it. I love it. So, jiu-jitsu. What are the other martial arts?
Karate. I have a first degree in karate, a first degree in taekwondo, and then a fourth degree in taekwondo from another organization in Korea. I'm their Goodwill ambassador. So this will be with Gracie. It'll be my first degree with them.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of UFC fighting?
Yeah, I love Dana. I think he's one of the good guys that he took a sport that had a need to cradle these guys, that are out there. They have skills when it comes down to being a pugilist, but other than that, they come from really hard origins and a couple of really good purses, and their life changes. So I love that, seeing people be able to get out of the gutter.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable what they've done for the sport. I mean, when they bought
How
it.
did you find that?
He finds everything.
Yeah.
Which picture are you referring to?
We've got Isaac over here bringing up images of Dave here with his. These are your instructors
Yeah, some of them.
in the gi. Is that a gi?
Yeah.
All right. Do you watch a lot of the UFC events?
I've gone to several,
Yeah,
and I watch them when it's a good card.
yeah. I always think it's a good card. I'm a lunatic for
UFC.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I can't get enough of it. John Jones and Stipe coming up. That's a good card.
I want to see the Tyson fight.
Okay,
That's-
Tyson and Jake Paul
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I love Tyson.
for sure.
I mean, there's something about him back when he did what he did that made him real easy to hate. But I guess given enough time and him making restitution, just the thought of him fighting again, it almost, in my mind, it doesn't block it out, because I'm sure when it was occurring that's the last thing anybody thought was that it wasn't happening. But I watch him train and I just think, God, that is a specimen.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yeah.
that is one of the best there ever is going to be. I used to watch Muhammad Ali fight when I was a kid on Wild World of Sports. So I've seen him. I've seen him fight. I've seen him fight Larry Holmes, Joe Frazier. I've seen Tommy Hearns, all those guys, all the greats, Macho Camacho, Roberto Diaz, all those guys.
Roberto Diaz was the Hands of Stone.
Stone, yeah, Hands of Stone. He was great. Yeah, I used to love that stuff. I didn't really like the wrestling stuff very much. I thought that was kind
Yeah,
of a bit
yeah. I mean the
hard to believe.
the physicality of it,
Of wrestling?
of wrestling, it's impressive. But
Yeah, it is athletic. I know that for sure. But for me, I had been brought up in a world of sports as a young kid that there's always something. That's a dog down here snoring. That was not me blowing my hole.
That's yeah. Moonpie's not a fan of wrestling.
Yeah, well,
The
she made that
storylines are a
clear.
little much for her.
She made that clear.
I've had the pleasure to know Maynard James Keenan
Mm-hmm.
of Tool and Perfect Circle and
Yeah.
Lucifer. He's a huge practitioner of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I
as
know.
well. I don't know what belt level he's at, but I wonder if you ever rolled around with him.
I have not, but I know that he started long before I did in Gracie, so he's probably already a black belt. He's probably a second or third degree by now too, because once you become a black belt, after that, it's time that you train under a black belt. You know, the whole thing with the belts, there were never any colors. It was just a belt you put on. It was white, and over time it would get dirty.
Oh, wow.
So it would go from white to yellow when it was starting to smell like ass. And
That's
then
amazing.
over time it would get blood and dirt all over it, and it would look black.
Yeah.
So,
I can see how it goes from brown on the way.
yeah.
Wow, that's a piece of information that I really, really enjoyed. So you know Maynard?
I know who he is. We did tour together, did not spend a lot of time together.
Yeah. I just think he's so fucking awesome, man. I'm such a fan of him and all of his bands. Yeah, man. So what is an important message that we can send out to people on your behalf? I did an interview with Mike Tyson one time on his hot boxing podcast, and he said, you know, like, what do you want to tell that camera that you feel the whole world needs to know? And I was inspired by that, and I'm borrowing it from him.
What did he say?
No, he asked me that.
What did you say?
And I think that I would imagine that I would have said that the meaning of life is to find meaning, to find something that you're so passionate about that that you're on fire for it, and that when you pursue it, you are giving meaning to your life. The meaning of life is to pick one.
For those of us in the past that were challenged by those of us in the future, was that a Kamala moment there?
Nah, I don't know about that. You know, like I'm a big fan of the word enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It broken down to its original roots from wherever it came from. You've got entheos, which means with God, from which I derive the conclusion that when you're passionate about what you're doing, you are doing God's work.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And I think that everybody, if I have a message for everybody, it's to find that passion and pursue it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because that is that's your relationship with God, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my message would be: don't take shit from anyone.
I love it. Don't take shit from anyone.
Ever.
Vinny's over here. Yeah, good, man. Well, I don't know that we can do better than that. I think I think I've stumbled over myself. I think I've embarrassed myself. I think that I've been, it's been tremendously exciting to come and do this with you again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been very hospitable having your ball warmer get on top of me from the beginning. Thanks, Moon Pie.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of you and your art.
Oh, thanks.
And you're just a goddamn legend, and it means the world to me that you let us come here and do this with you. So thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Hell yeah, brother.
Anytime now, you know where I live. Thanks, God.
Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah.
Was Dave Mustaine rad or what? And is this new RV rad or what? I mean, this has just got me so super duper stoked. And I'm waiting to show off like the whole thing, like the outside, because I don't want to show off the whole thing, the outside, until it's been taken to this place called U-Joint Off-Road, where it's getting lifted and converted to a 4x4 off-roading, overlanding ass kicker. Ugh. I mean, dude, losing my mind over this thing. I love RVs. And I love you for sticking around to the end of the episode. And we've recorded this episode today. We were at Dave Mustaine's house today. And, man, just had to put it out right away. I mean, super stoked. Plus, tomorrow's, well, now Thursday. So Thursday, tomorrow, is Friday, first show in Bowling Green of this next run of shows on my Super Dummy tour. Man, I hope you guys all come and see this show because it is hilarious. And I'm saying that myself, but it's really fucking funny. So I'll see you on the road. I love you. Thank you for sticking around. And man, Dave Mustaine, that was epic. Yeah.